Hello, today I'll be talking about Hybe's survival show, Are You Next? Previously, I've uploaded videos talking about the performances in the show, but honestly, I think that's burying the lead. The editing and the interesting way they've chosen to portray certain contestants, and the interesting marketing choices that they've made around the show, is beginning to rapidly overshadow the performances and competition in it. The fueling of the drama and the flames is kind of more interesting than anything else to me right now. I'll break down what I think they're doing, and at the end I'll go over my top 6 briefly as well. If you like this kind of content, please consider subscribing to my channel. 99% of the people who watch my videos aren't subscribed. Anyway, I've noticed Hybe is not really using new tactics here, but they can be considered quite underhanded. Many people have speculated for some time that newjeans specifically has had sort of an outrage marketing campaign around them. From issues with Minhee Jin to Cookie's interesting double entendre in the lyrics, to the recent upset around ETA, one could easily think this is a strategy Hybe is committed to using, and possibly one that they've decided to use to build hype around this program. In time, I think they might also use it to advertise and build up marketing around the group that results from this program. Before the show even came out, there was already negative press about the show, including incredibly young trainees, and many of them at that. Clearly, Hybe thinks debuting younger girls is a good idea. They found great success doing it with newjeans, and they've only been rewarded for this behavior. Honestly, it seems to be a sticking point that creates a lot of free press and buzz, and has yet to impact sales. Besides, the more control they have over these girls' lives at a young age, the less likely they are to have scandals or issues like the Karam situation. However, how ethical is this? Many idols, including Boa, have discussed about how debuting at a young age is really damaging. Some have said they won't vote for underage trainees, and I think that could be a step in the right direction. They've also received a lot of pushback to that sentiment. Personally, the farther they push this, Hybe that is, I think it's more likely that the South Korean government is going to step in one of these days and make some strict laws about how young idols can debut. Hybe is also using editing and screen time here to really favor certain contestants. I've spoken in the past about how I think Chanel gets painted in a pretty positive light, when others are not given that benefit. Personally, I think this has little to do with her as a person, or anything nefarious around her as a person. What's more likely is she plays really well in a global audience, as we saw from the global voting, and I think they know that she probably has a good chance of debuting in the final group. I think they're using editing tricks and a little manipulation in the show to better present her to a domestic audience and shore up support in Korea. I can think of a few idols who are quite popular internationally, but perform the same or less successfully than their peers. And by perform, I mean in terms of popularity, not musical talents. I wonder if after the last global vote we had, this might change, as she didn't place as high as I thought she would. We must realize that most of these companies see each of these girls as a product in development for them to sell. To brands, to productions down the line in the form of endorsements, brand ambassadorships, advertisements, and even in some case, acting roles. Meanwhile, I think once again, they're using outrage marketing or emphasized drama to pull in viewership in a big way. Several examples I can think of were comments about Yuna's attitude and the buzz generated from it, the conflict between Jiwoo and Iris, and of course, the overemphasis of One He's Fall. I think production is sensationalizing things that happen on the show, encouraging a certain level of chaos for rating. This is all, of course, to some degree of success. Queen Puzzle is currently airing at about the same time and is also a survival program, and I've covered it a bit on the channel. I would expect, considering that they have veterans of the industry, they would have significantly higher ratings in Korea. Both shows also have a member of Girls' Generation hosting, but Queen Puzzle has Taeyeon, who I would argue is probably a bigger name. It seems to not matter though, as Are You Next has distinctly edged them out. These tactics and the increased viewership might be showing JTBC that working with Hybe and doing these things is the ideal way to go. To a lesser extent, this might also be teaching Mnet that they should probably have more dramatic editing, more false outrage, and things like that. Because if they can't rig the show like they used to for the produced series, sparking press from outraged episodes online is a viable way to dominate with survival shows. Personally, I don't want to see that happen, but I would not be shocked if this is how the trend moves along. Now, finally, is Are You Next fair with all these things? Well, probably not, but is there a survival show that is fair? They're designed to make the most successful group possible, and so far they seem on track to do that. It'll be interesting to see if it successfully converts viewers of the show to fans of the final group. For my top 6, I tried to balance my feelings about who I think is realistically going to be able to make it to the final group and people who I've really felt stood out to me week over week. At number 6, I have Jimena. I think she's too young to debut. I probably won't be voting her based on that, but she's just so cute and she has such a fun time on stage, and I love seeing her. She would be the perfect youngest member of any group. Next up at 5th place, I have Wonhee. I'm not comfortable with her age. Just like Jimena, probably won't vote for her because of it, but I have adored her growth on the show, and I feel like when it's time for her, she's going to be really brilliant. At 4th, I have Chanel. You might be surprised because I keep talking about how I think she gets a biased cut, but I think that they have to cut to show her strengths, and if there were no strengths to show, they would have nothing to cut to. She's a really strong performer. She deserves to debut no matter how I feel about their portrayal of her. In 3rd place, I have Yuna. She stood out for me repeatedly. I don't really care about complaints about her attitude or whatever. Also, she loves Sulgi. I love Sulgi. Perfect. Number 3 for me, and I'll be voting for her accordingly. At number 2, I have Youngso. Her stage presence just has continued to stand out for me, and she really earned this spot. At number 1, I have Jiwoo. Her vocals are constantly they just give me life. She constantly stands out as super strong and super amazing. I really hope she makes the final group. That's all for me, so thank you so much for watching. Bye!